Hello everyone, we are going to study peptic ulcer diseases. Complications of chronic gastritis is peptic ulcer disease. It is most often associated with H. pylori induced hyperchlorhydric chronic gastritis, which is present in 85% to 100% of individuals with duodenal ulcers and in 65% with gastric ulcers. Peptic ulcer disease, it may occur in any part of the GI tract that is exposed to acidic gastric juices. But the most common part involved is gastric antrum and first part of duodenum. So peptic ulcer disease is seen in gastric antrum and first part of duodenum. It may occur in esophagus as a result of GERD or acid secretion by ectopic gastric mucosa. The gastric mucosa within a Meckel's diverticulum can also result in peptic ulceration of adjacent mucosa. So, peptic ulcer disease is common in gastric antrum and first part of duodenum. So, pathogenesis, there is imbalance of mucosal defenses and damaging forces that cause chronic gastritis. They are responsible for PUD. So, PUD, it develops on a background of chronic gastritis. So, peptic ulcer disease is a complication of chronic gastritis. H. pylori and NSAID use are primary underlying causes of PUD, that is the cause of chronic gastritis. Although more than 70% of individuals with PUD are infected by H. pylori, but fewer than 20% of H. pylori infected individuals, they develop peptic ulcer. So, the patient with PUD, they are infected by H. pylori. That patient are more than 70%. But amongst them, only 20% individuals, they develop peptic ulcer. So peptic ulcers, they are 4 times more common in proximal duodenum than in the stomach. And the duodenal ulcers, they usually occur within few centimeters of pyloric valve and involve the anterior duodenal wall. Gastric ulcers are predominantly located along the lesser curvature near the interface of body and antrum. So peptic ulcers are common in duodenum, and in duodenum, anterior duodenal wall is more affected, and in stomach, the lesser curvature is predominantly shows peptic ulcers near the interface of body and antrum. Peptic ulcers are usually solitary in more than 80% of the patients, and lesions are less than 0.3 centimeter in diameter. That lesions are shallow, and more than 0.6 centimeters are usually deeper ulcers. The classic peptic ulcer is round to oval, sharply punched out defect. The lesion is sharply punched out. The mucosal margin may overhang the base. Mucosal margin may overhang the base slightly, particularly on the upstream side, but usually level with the surrounding mucosa. It is in level with the surrounding mucosa. There is punched out lesion with slightly overhang mucosal margins, that is in level with the surrounding mucosa. In contrast to the ulcer seen in cancer, they are heaped up margins. So when the ulcer is seen, the depth may be limited by the thick gastric muscularis propria or by adherent pancreas or mental fat or the liver. So depth of ulcer is usually limited by the gastric muscularis propria. Hemorrhage and fibrin deposition are often present on gastric serosa. Perforation into the peritoneal cavity is a surgical emergency that may be identified by presence of free air under the diaphragm on upright radiographs of the abdomen. The base of peptic ulcer is smooth and clean as a result of peptic digestion of exudate and blood vessels may be evident. So the base is usually smooth and clean due to digestion of the exudate. In active ulcers, the base may have thin layer of fibrinoid debris underlaid by predominantly neutrophilic infiltrate. So the base is composed of necrotic debris with neutrophilic infiltrate. Beneath this active granulation tissue infiltrated by mononuclear leukocytes and fibrous or collagenous scar forms the ulcer base. The vessel walls within the scarred area are typically thickened and are occasionally thrombosed. Ongoing bleeding within the ulcer base may cause life-threatening hemorrhage. Scarring may involve the entire thickness of the wall and pucker the surrounding mucosa into folds that radiate outward. The size and location do not differentiate benign and malignant ulcers. However, the gross appearance of chronic peptic ulcer is virtually diagnostic. The malignant transformation of peptic ulcer is very rare, and reports of transformation probably represent cases wherein a lesion thought to be benign was actually an ulcerated carcinoma from the start. Majority of peptic ulcers come to clinical attention because of epigastric burning or aching pain, although a significant fraction present with complications like iron deficiency anemia, frank hemorrhage, or perforation. The aching pain that tends to occur 1 to 3 hours after meals during the day is worse at night and is relieved by alkali or food. Nausea, vomiting, bloating, belching, and significant weight loss are additional manifestations. So, how to differentiate between benign and malignant ulcers? The benign ulcers usually occur in younger age group while malignant in older age group. Males are commonly affected in benign ulcers, while malignancy is slightly more common in females. The duration of symptoms, it lasts for weeks to years in benign, while in malignant, weeks to months. Lesser curvature of pylorus and antrum is involved in benign ulcers, while greater curvature of pylorus and antrum is involved in malignant. If ulcers are present on greater curvature, then it is malignant, most probably, and if on lesser curvature, it is likely to be benign. The benign ulcers are grossly small, regular in shape, and the mucosal folds are radiating. While the malignant ulcers, they are usually large, irregular in margins, and the mucosal folds are interrupted. The benign ulcers, they have a hemorrhagic ulcer bed, while malignant have necrotic ulcer bed. On barium studies, the benign ulcers, they have punched out. They are punched out lesions, while malignant ulcers, they have irregular filling defect on barium studies. Benign ulcers, they have normal to low acidity, while in malignant ulcers, there is seen normal to achlorhydria. Benign ulcers, they respond well to medical therapy, while malignant ulcers, they do not respond to medical therapy. Now, the difference between the peptic ulcers, duodenal ulcer and gastric ulcer. The duodenal ulcer, they are 4 times more common, seen in 25 to 50 years of age group, and the male-female ratio is 4:1. While the incidence of gastric ulcer is less common, it occurs beyond 6th decade, and ratio is 3.5:1. Duodenal ulcer, they are associated with H. pylori, hypersecretion of acid pepsin, alcoholic cirrhosis, tobacco consumption, chronic pancreatitis, It is more common in blood group O, and genetic factors they are involved like HLA-B5. The gastric ulcers, in gastric ulcer etiology involved is disruption of mucous barrier and is usually associated with gastritis, bile reflex, drug and alcohol consumption and tobacco consumption. Now the duodenal ulcers, they are present on first part of the duodenum most commonly. They are solitary, 1 to 2.5 centimeter in diameter, oval, round and punched out. While the gastric ulcers, they are seen on lesser curvature and pyloric antrum. Grossly, they are similar to the duodenal ulcer, that is, they are solitary and usually 1 to 2.5 centimeter in diameter. Histologically, duodenal ulcers, they are composed of 4 layers: necrotic, superficial exudative, granulation tissue and cicatrization. Same in case of gastric ulcer. In duodenal ulcer, complications involved are hemorrhage. Hemorrhage is the most common complication. Then perforation and sometimes obstruction can be seen. The malignant transformation never occur in duodenal ulcers. While in gastric ulcers, perforation is most common, followed by hemorrhage and at times obstruction. Malignant transformation is seen in less than 1% of cases. Now the clinical features. The duodenal ulcers, they have pain, food, relief pattern. Means after taking food, the pain is relieved, while in gastric ulcer, after having food, there is pain. In duodenal ulcers, night pains are common, while no night pains are seen in gastric ulcers. No vomiting is seen in duodenal ulcer, while vomiting is common in gastric ulcers. Melena is more common than hematemesis in duodenal ulcers, while hematemesis is more common in gastric ulcers. So, melena in duodenal ulcer and hematemesis in gastric ulcers. There is significant weight loss in case of gastric ulcer, while no loss of weight in duodenal ulcers. Patients choose bland diet devoid of fried foods, curries, etc., while no particular choice of diet is duodenal ulcers. In duodenal ulcer, there is deep tenderness in right hypochondrium, while in gastric ulcer, there is deep tenderness in midline of the epigastrium. So, epigastric pain in gastric ulcers and right hypochondrium tenderness or pain in duodenal ulcers. There is marked seasonal variation in duodenal ulcer, while no seasonal variation is seen in gastric ulcers. Occurs more commonly in people at greater stress, the duodenal ulcers, while gastric ulcers are seen more often in laboring groups. Another complication of chronic gastritis is mucosal atrophy and intestinal metaplasia. The long-standing chronic gastritis involves the body and fundus. With significant loss of parietal cell, there is associated intestinal metaplasia, which is strongly associated with increased risk of gastric adenocarcinoma. Complication is dysplasia. Pre-invasive in situ lesions can be recognized histologically as dysplasia. Morphologic hallmark of dysplasia are variation in epithelial size, shape, orientation, along with coarse chromatin texture, hyperchromasia, and nuclear enlargement. Last complication is gastritis cystic. Refers to exuberant reactive epithelial proliferation associated with entrapment of epithelial line cyst. They may be found within the submucosa, then it is gastritis cystica polyposa, or in deeper layers of gastric wall, it is known as gastritis cystica profunda. Thank you.